I bet I drill a clean hole in somebody today.
Mortal Kombat 1 is in serious trouble. Dare I say danger. The Mortal Kombat franchise has been changing a lot over the past few iterations, going from MK9 to MK where we're at now, 1. It's a totally different game in terms of monetization, in terms of the gameplay, and a lot of people really don't understand why all of these changes were made and the type of pressures that can be put onto these game studios. Because one thing that people talk about a lot right now with fighting games is how there's battle passes, there's skins, there's just all of this predatory stuff, and they blame like Ed Boon for it, they blame Harada for it, but they don't understand that that pressure comes from up. And in this video we're going to be talking about that pressure once again, because it could lead Mortal Kombat down a very scary path. What's crazy about this whole thing is when you're talking about the most successful video games of all time, there's a couple of Mortal Kombats that's a part of that discussion. The first Mortal Kombat is Mortal Kombat 11 at 15 million copies sold. And then you have Mortal Kombat X, right? So even though Mortal Kombat 11 was considered one of the most controversial, like a lot of people in the FGC and a lot of professional players, they talk trash about that game. But at the same time, that game was absolutely breaking records. And it makes sense why Mortal Kombat 1 is very similar to that game. You could say the same thing about Tekken 8. Tekken 7 broke records, and Tekken 8 is very similar to that game as well, right? And that's kind of what people do when they make money. They find something that works, something that's like a success, and they continue. But what's even crazier about this is when you look at fighting game franchises as a whole. Right now, they're at 80 million copies for a franchise. Tekken and Street Fighter is like 30 million away. The only ones who could touch them is Smash Bros. And this just shows how powerful this franchise is. But here's the thing about the people above. For those of you who don't know, kind of during the pandemic, some of these companies merged and created basically a modern day monopoly, right? And they are now such a massive company to where their expectations for profits is so high. And with Mortal Kombat being under Time Warner Discovery, they have some very unreal expectations of what they want this game to be. On May 3rd, 2022, I made a video titled, "If Mortal Kombat 12 performs poorly, Warner Bros. Will sell NRS to EA, Sony, or Take-Two." Even though this video is like 2 years old and everyone forgot about it, Mortal Kombat's doing good. The game is selling a lot of copies. They just announced Season 2. Warner Bros. Discovery is still very much looking to sell it. Just to give you kind of an idea of how massive this company is, here's basically everything that is under the umbrella of Warner Bros. You have DC, you have CNN, you have HBO, TNT, Universal Music Group, the Olympic Channel, AT&T. Warner Bros. Discovery is massive, and they only look for the billions and billions of dollars, and anything that's not a part of that, they basically, it's wasted their time. This is how massive these companies are. When a couple of $1 million, $100 million is like a waste to them, they're into the big money. And as a result, what happened in 2022, you basically had this tweet go out from Imran. Imran says, "Couldn't get enough information to actually write a post about it, but hearing a decent bit of chatter this week about Warner Bros. Discovering shopping their game development studios around." Now, this is also talking about Mortal Kombat. They were going to Take-Two, EA, Microsoft, Sony, Tencent, NetEase, PUBG Corp, and they were saying, who wants to buy our gaming division? They were basically looking to step out. And not because Mortal Kombat isn't breaking records, like we just looked, like they're selling copies, they're breaking records, but it's just they are only interested in making a lot of money. And when I say a lot of money, I mean like 100 million, billions of dollars, right? They basically feel like Mortal Kombat is just too much to deal with, and they would rather sell it to another company like EA, Microsoft, or Sony, someone who wants it. Now, this was under the small condition of if the next game did poorly, and that's when you have these news articles pop up here. I turned on the reader mode to block out all the ads, but pay attention to the headlines. Warner Bros. Says it's focusing on transforming its biggest franchises into live service games. So This is also talking about the Suicide Squad, but also Mortal Kombat. A lot of people get upset with all the ads and stuff that they're putting into their games, but people don't understand that that's the CEOs, that's the people up top, the suits, the greedy corporate stock investors who try to milk these games. They don't care about the franchise. They don't care about the players. They're just interested in the money. Here's another news article. Warner Bros. Threatens to make Mortal Kombat and Batman live service games. Threatens? So that's basically the pressure, the situation that Mortal Kombat is in. Warner Bros. To drive engagement by moving its game to a live service model. Now this catches us up with today. Today there's this another news article. I'll turn on reader mode once again to block out the ads, but I just want you guys to see it's from Game Developer. It says, report, Warner Bros. Discovery looking into selling off games, other divisions to prevent a total breakup. Remember at the start of this video when I used the word monopoly? Some of these companies are merging and just merging and just merging, and they're creating these ultra giants. It's very bad for consumers because we all know competition drives the market. If there's no one to compete with, you can choose what you want your price to be with. Take Sony, for example. Sony currently is the most greedy they have ever been, and that's because Xbox is the weakest it's ever been. Everyone jokes on Xbox, but we really need them to step it up so that keeps PlayStation in check and they're not just controlling and dominating the market. So right now, you know, Warner Bros. Discovery is doing all of these mergers and they're becoming too big. One, they're always looking for more money, but then two, they have a lot of things that is making them too big. And for Mortal Kombat and their whole gaming division, they're basically saying, like, you know, we are in threat of being broken up because now we're too big, and also we're looking at what makes us the most money. And Mortal Kombat doesn't do that, right? Mortal Kombat and all of these different studios, yes, it's breaking records, but it simply just is not driving their value up as much as they would want. So it's better for them to just sell it off, get rid of it, and then they can keep all the stuff that's really making them money, and they could just continue. So that's kind of where they're at right now, and I mean, it's probably not going to turn out too good for Mortal Kombat depending on what company buys it, because if we go back to this one here, you can see all the people who are interested, right? I think the worst case scenario is if EA buys it, we'll see more monetization and greed like we already are seeing. Take-Two, those are the people who own GTA. If they buy it, they're definitely going to ruin it as well. I believe Take-Two is the same people who also own 2K, correct me if I'm wrong. Sony and Microsoft, I feel like Microsoft may do a decent job. Sony, no, they'll ruin it. Tencent, they'll ruin it, but Tencent already owns pretty much everything, a little bit of everything, right? That's another company who is kind of a monopoly in a lot of ways. NetEase, PubCourt, so there's some good options here, but there's not many. And this company, you know, 2 years later is once again looking at selling their gaming division. So sooner rather than later, this eventually will happen. Mortal Kombat, regardless of how popular it is, it will be sold off to another company, to another studio, and basically, you know, for the first time ever, it's going to be under like a new leadership, right? And this is when we could see drastic things happen for the franchise. You can have a company like EA take over and say, okay, all the fatality and gore, we're going to remove all of that so we can open the game up to a wider audience. Because even though the game breaks records, the fatality, the gore, the violence kind of holds it back in a lot of ways. It's banned in many countries for that reason. So this situation is getting very crazy, and 2 years ago was the last time we heard about it, and like the conversation is still ongoing. Warner Bros. Discovery is massive. They're only getting bigger. Now they're trying to sell off some parts because they're in fear of being broken up. And the parts that they're looking to sell off are the parts that's making the least amount of money. And that just so happens to be the gaming division, because you invest so much into a game and you hope to make a lot out. Sometimes you don't, sometimes you do. But in their case, even when you do make a lot, it doesn't compare to their other industries that they're in and how much money they're recouping. The next thing we hear is probably like they'll be selling it to someone. You give it another 2 years and who knows, Microsoft is buying it. Like, subscribe, also follow me on Twitch. But that's going to be it. Thank you for watching. See you in the next one, and bye bye.